perhaps even more demanding, but we'd like to thank you very much to all the Cherries for being hosts and hostesses of this wonderful event. Let me tell you a little bit about the campaign and what's going on, and then I'll try to answer a few questions. First of all, I made the decision to run for the Senate in the fall of this year and made the announcement that I was going to run. I fully expected, obviously at that time, to run against Beau Biden, Joe's son, and he later, earlier this year, as a matter of fact, made the decision not to run. And since then, Chris Coons, who's a Newcastle County executive, has made the decision to run as a Democrat. There is a primary in my race. Christine O'Donnell is running. That primary will be on September 14th. So we have to deal with that as well as deal with the election itself. People often ask, why are you giving up your House seat and running for the Senate? After all, you do represent the entire state of Delaware. Well, the bottom line is that the House is 435 people. And talk about herding cats. I mean, that's as tough as it gets, is dealing in the House of Representatives. And I'm in the minority, which is probably not the end of the world, and you still get things done. But the bottom line is that everything processes through the House, through the Rules Committee, through leadership, and it's very difficult to assert your own independence and to fight for what you want to get done. I've been successful. We've gotten a number of things done. But my judgment was in the Senate, with 100 people, with more limited rules in terms of what an individual can do, in that you can do more than you can in the House, that the Senate afforded greater opportunities. And I thought I could take the knowledge I've developed with many years in the Congress of the United States, in the House, and my terms as Governor of Delaware and other experience, and be able to carry it to the Senate and hit the ground running and get good things done for Delaware. So that was the reason for the decision. This is the last 4 years of the term to which Joe Biden was elected. Joe Biden was elected Vice President and was elected to the United States Senate from Delaware at the same time. He made the unfortunate decision to become Vice President instead of the Senator from Delaware. Much more distinguished position. So I had the opportunity to run for that. As you may know, Ted Kaufman, who I think has served well, filled in for these 2 years, and he's not running for election at all. He knew he wasn't going to run for it even when he took that position. So that's the basic political circumstance of what we are doing. Like many of you, I am concerned about many things that are happening in Washington, D.C. It's hard to single out individual circumstances, but the bottom line is, if you take the whole theater of what has either been proposed or has happened, you'll see that it adds up to a lot of spending, a lot more government involvement, and I'm not one who necessarily advocates that it's a government takeover or whatever. I mean, healthcare is clearly a much greater government involvement, not necessarily a takeover, but much more governmental intrusion into the affairs of the American public to a great degree. This all involves a tremendous amount of spending. I'll give you one good example of that. That was the stimulus legislation, which was some $800+ billion with interest. Will be $1 trillion in the United States. And the pundits have written, and maybe even correctly, that it has helped save or create jobs. To some degree it did, because a lot of that money went into our various governments, state and local governments, to help them keep teachers on and others on. But that was a matter of 2 or 3 months at the end of a year that they weren't funding. And a lot of it went into various patchwork type work, literally on highways and bridges and things of that nature. And again, all that was temporary. It was all 2 months, 3 months, whatever it may be. What nobody in the media, nor have Republicans for all that matter, really traced down is how many of those jobs still exist today as a result of what happened. It wasn't the creation of real long-term employment in the United States of America. It was the creation of short-term solutions, so it might have had that stimulative effect for a short period of time, but it didn't have the long-term effect that we need. And to do that, I think we have to look carefully at the regulatory policies of the United States of America, the spending of the United States of America, and the creativity of the United States of America. I worry a great deal about brilliant students who come to the United States and then go back wherever they came from instead of developing the next technology or whatever it is that's going to improve our country. I worry that we don't really have a plan with respect to innovation and opportunity for economic opportunity in the United States of America. I remember being in a room just after I'd been elected lieutenant governor. I'm not trying to take credit for much of this because I was sitting there learning myself for the most part, with Pete DuPont and several of our corporate chiefs at the time, Ernst Shapiro, DuPont, Al Jocko, Hercules, and a few other people, while we created the financial development opportunities in the state of Delaware. And I think all of you know, as a result of that, we have hired some 40,000 plus people, and almost every major bank in America has located some aspect of their business in our state because we developed that opportunity. Well, that's moving from state to state, but we need to determine how we're going to make sure that cars are being built in America and not overseas, how our policies work, which are going to encourage economic opportunity here. What are we doing with trade agreements? What are we doing with all the different activities that would create the economic opportunities for Americans? Then we have to worry about how we're educating our young people. There's absolutely no reason why American schools can't be the best schools in the world. And by all standards that we're seeing now, they are not. And that is just wrong. We need to work very, very hard on that. That's going to take the commitment of all of us. For those of you who serve on school boards, people involved with PTAs, whatever it may be, the bottom line is that we need to make absolutely sure that we are being demanding in education, that we're doing the very best we can. I have a lot of respect for Secretary Arne Duncan, who was actually in town yesterday. I believe he's a fair person. I think he's done some good things in Chicago. And my sense is that we should work with him on the redoing of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, and we should be demanding. As you also know, Delaware was one of the 2 states that qualified for the Race to the Top funds, and as a result of that, we're going to be getting money in to help in our state. We've got to make sure that that pays off. Our obligation is to educate our kids as well as we possibly can. We also have to worry about the infrastructure of the United States of America. And Congress has, again, not done a particularly good job in that area in terms of reauthorization of legislation dealing with transportation, which is of vital importance. I was really surprised when they talked about high-speed rail and doled out high-speed rail money that the Northeastern Corridor was not included. If anyone thinks that the Acela is high-speed rail, you haven't been riding the Acela. It's a little faster, yes, but it's not high-speed rail per se. And I was hoping with Joe Biden in the White House that the Northeast Corridor would be a little better recognized than it was, but it was not in this case. So we're going to have to fight hard to make sure that that is taken care of also. But that's a continuing problem we have to pay attention to. I worry about a lot of other issues in Washington. I worry about the nutrition of children. I'm involved in the Education Committee dealing with that issue. I worry about safety on our highways, particularly with our younger drivers. I'm a great believer in the graduated driver's license, and we've done a pretty good job with that in Delaware. This country has not, so I want to put incentives in place to make sure that the states are looking at in the possibility of putting in laws that would restrict licensing to young people until they get a little bit older, and make sure they're driving with adults for a while before they can night drive and that kind of thing to provide a greater safety to our country if we possibly can.